Hey everyone! And by everyone I mean to maybe one of our 187 followers I think that we have now. Welcome to Tip Tuesday. So the point of this video and the point of the videos that are going to subsequently come on a Tuesday evening is to give you guys some value. Find out what questions that you have. It can be anything for fitness related. It can be anything related to who I am as a person, because I am the chief course operator for TrainMe Academy. Now, I just want this to be as educational and as valuable for you guys as possible. So the more questions that come in, the more I can kind of tailor make the experience for you. And I don't want this to be super formal. I want it to be super fun. I want you guys to get involved. I want to create some sort of community around the brand. So let me talk a little bit about what TrainMe Academy is. It is an academy where you learn by doing. I think the normal way that education is facilitated is far too theory-based, and then people get too caught up in the theory and get caught up in details and not actually enough in finding how you apply that in the real world. So it's not as if we're trying to make an accredited course or anything like that. The idea of TrainMe Academy is that we empower people to take control of their own health in terms of their physical well-being. Sounds like quite a tall ask, but I think it's incredibly important because all of us have bodies. I have a body, everyone else here has a body, and I think everyone would like to learn how to not be afraid of things like foods and exercise and enjoy the fruit from education and what that can give you. So that can give you the power to start changing things around and start tailor-making plans and whatever that be, exercise or eating plans, to you, because I feel like you know yourself best and you can be your own doctor in a certain sense, but I'm talking about like a physical doctor. So you could be your own personal trainer. That's maybe a better way of saying it. So the academy the idea is to learn by doing. So what that basically means is we are offering a foundation course, which is a 6-week fitness challenge, where we're going to show you basically the basics of exercising, depending on what your goal is, what kinds of exercises you should do, what zones you should be working in, how many times a week you should be doing it. And then we're going to pair that up with something that is very important if you want to make any sort of physical transformation, and that is eating. Now, eating needs to be, the reason that I've used this particular course, well, the particular nutrition plan that is included in the TrainMe Academy, the fitness. Oh, we've got 2 people. Hi, guys. The reason that we are using this particular nutrition plan is I feel it has a good balance between being structured and also there's enough flexibility. So if you have a plan that is way too structured, I don't feel that a lot of people can connect with it very well, because how long can you stick to a nutrition plan where everything is weighed out, everything is very specific? You have to eat this for breakfast, this for lunch, this for dinner, or you have to eat 4, 5 meals, 6 meals a day. I don't feel that's very realistic for people to be doing for a long period of time, which is why the nutritional plan that is included in the TrainMe Academy foundation product is carb cycling. So I think we have had some questions about carb cycling, so I'm going to go over the basics of what that is in case people don't know. If it might be a new topic for you, it might be something that you've heard of, but hey Penny, I'm basically going to try and explain just the basics of what you'll get out of our 6-week fitness challenge. So the basics of it is you get 6-week guide. It's a step-by-step fitness plan, which basically we send you a consultation form, and you tell us what your expectations are. whether you'd like to gain weight, whether you'd like to lose weight, whatever it is that you're looking for. And we also try and tailor make as much as we can with what equipment that you have. If you have no equipment at all, that's fine. We can make you a completely body weight plan that's also that is kind of tailored to your fitness level, whether you be a beginner, whether you're intermediate, or whether you are an advanced exerciser, whether you've been doing it your whole life, or maybe you have been doing it for a really long time, but for the last 6 months, you've kind of just been sitting around. And I know that can be a real problem with lockdown restricting us and our normal way of life, with going to some certain gyms which are closed at this time. So you can do this exercise and eating plan whether you just need a smartphone and an internet connection. It doesn't matter if you have no experience. It also doesn't matter if you have no equipment either. So there's also a step-by-step, we give you step-by-step training. The training plan involves, there's a video with a little description and it tells you how to do the exercise, and it gives you a description about it, and it gives you a bit of a safety cue as well. So you can watch the videos as many times as you want. You can review them, or if you're quite familiar with the exercise, you can just read by the name, and you don't have to go into each one individually and actually watch every single one. But the idea is that it gives you what exercise to do, it gives you the amount of reps that you should be doing, how many sets you should be doing, and also how much rest that you should be having as well. Which, in my experience, a lot of people like to extend their rest periods when they are exercising by themselves. I know commercial gyms, there's a really big problem with people walking past conveniently someone that they know, or they just have to go to the water fountain at the other end of the gym after doing a set. I see you. And that changing your rest periods can actually influence the target zone that you may be going for, and you could be missing that because you're not sticking to your rest periods, for example. So I'm watching you guys. I'm watching you. There on the app, it will tell you how much rest you should get, and it'll also time your rest for you. So it really just gives you a step by step on what exercises to do and how to do them, and also again it's based on your fitness level. And then we pair that up with an eating plan where you get to pick the foods that suit you best, which basically means you have a choice of a protein, a carb, and a fat. There's different variants for different days because that's how carb cycling works. Basically, there are high carb days and there are low carb days as well. On the high carb days, you're going to be majority eating your proteins and your carbohydrates together. On your low carb days, you're going to be eating your proteins and your fats together. Okay. On every single day, doesn't matter if it's high or low carb day, in your breakfast, you get to have your carbs. You're welcome. And another really, really cool thing about the carb cycling is every day 7, whether that can be a Sunday for you, it can actually fall on whichever day you'd like, you get a guilt-free day. Yes. So all of the things that you've been craving throughout the week, if you are limiting yourself in terms of the choices that you have, obviously there's only a certain amount of foods that can be slotted in order to stick to the structure. And I already got a question from one of our fitness takers, our challenge takers, and they asked me, look, could I take the breakfast and make it into a smoothie? And I said, 100%, yes, you can make it into a smoothie. And then they asked, could I use bananas in the smoothie? And I said, yes, as long as it's measured to the right portion size, as per your guide, then that's cool. And then she came back and she said, well, what can I have and what can't I have? Because my bananas aren't on the list of foods that was provided for me. So what was up with that? Like, I don't understand this, Neil. Basically, with any eating plan, there can be some variance. With this one in particular, you can substitute some of the foods as long as they are in the right macronutrient group. So the reason why they are set out, or one of the reasons why they're set out, is because a lot of people don't know the different macronutrients. They don't know the difference between a protein, a carb, and a fat. And some people do, but some people assume that they know more than they do. A lot of people tell me that nuts are a protein. Yes, they do have protein, but their main macronutrient is fats. So that's one of the main reasons why you should be following what's on the guide. It also helps you to provide structure. So this is how I answered the question from the lady that asked me about why can I just add bananas when it's not on the list. I said, look, you can add certain macronutrients in even if they're not on the list. However, the whole point of the eating or having any eating plan is to have some sort of structure. Structure is incredibly important when it comes to eating. If you are eating at least 70% of the time to what your meal plan is, you're going to see good results. Okay? If you veer out of that, that's why we have the guilt-free day, which, thank you, sounds awesome. I'm glad I got that feedback. I also thought it was awesome. But the idea is to obviously stick to a structure for most of the time. And if you're always constantly trying to find foods where you can fit it in to your eating plan, then where do you draw the line? Because if you are lacking or you are upset by having to pick things off of a list, and some of the things on the list is not to your liking, it's at least there's a choice, which is great. But if you want to constantly keep adding things to that list, then if you continue to do that, when do we get to the point where you are basically just eating how you were before you started this eating plan, which probably got you to the body that you are maybe unhappy with? So the idea is to stick to the structure throughout the week, and anything that you're craving or anything that isn't on the list that you just like, oh, I just want to eat this, look, I want to eat it now. You're welcome, you can have it on your guilt-free day. I kept that guilt-free day on a Sunday. Sunday for me was just a chill out day. I don't want to stick to too much structure. I just want to relax. I don't want to do exercise. I just want to lay around on the couch and maybe eat some sort of potato chips or some chocolate, whatever, or just maybe have a meal or something that you regularly had before that you were just craving. And I would literally make a list when I was following this plan, because I have followed. So the plan that I'm providing for you is something that I've tested on myself. I've tested it on clients when I was doing this as just a one-on-one business. But I've also tested this on myself. So what I would do is if there was something that I was craving or some different variation of what I was sticking to, I would literally make a list. And it would be my guilt-free list. And that Sunday, I would go to the supermarket. I was actually in America the first time that I followed this plan. I would go to the supermarket and I would just hit everything that was on my list and smash it in my face. I don't do this every week because I'm quite a perfectionist in some ways, in a lot of ways actually, and I'm quite an intense human. So if I was feeling that I wasn't really getting, or if I felt too guilty about my guilt-free day, the next guilt-free day I would tone it down a little bit. But the idea is to use your guilt-free day. Don't go crazy, but also curb whatever cravings that you have. So, moving forward from this point, I've given you a little bit of a background about what TrainMe Academy is trying to achieve. So I'm going to be posting this video as a IGTV video so that you can review it at another stage. What I would like to do with this is get you guys involved, take your questions. I already have some questions that I can start answering today. But for me, what I would like to do is just do some teachings of what I think is important for you guys to know if you ever want to be the kind of person who this academy is for. That's the kind of person that wants to take control of their own physical well-being, that can learn to make the decisions themselves. I'm not saying that you must go teach that to other people. I know that is what happens a lot, but if you are instructing anyone other than yourself, then you need to get qualified. And unfortunately, in our environment, there's a lot of unqualified people out there that are giving out fitness advice. I would not recommend listening to these people because, yes, if you can get results in yourself, that's great, but it's super important to understand the science behind what you're doing, which is why I have formally studied. I'm not just a personal trainer, I'm also an exercise specialist. I've studied formally and I'm qualified. I've also studied informally, which is where my experience and my experimenting on my own body comes in. So Drop It Like a Spot says, I think it's important that we all are human at the end of the day, and we all have cravings, but balance is key. 100%. Balance is super important. Consistency is super important as well. When I talk about consistency, this is my one gem that I would like to give to you. When I was, before this, teaching personal trainers how to be personal trainers, so I was the trainer of trainers, I would start all of my classes with explaining the term homeostasis. And it kind of goes into what was just said about balance, but I kind of flipped it into being being about consistency. So your body needs to be taught what you want from it. That doesn't really make sense. Depending on what you would like to achieve, if you have a visual goal, for example, if there's a certain way that you would like your body to look, you have to facilitate the conditions in order for your body to try to adapt to what you're giving it as an external stimulus, in order for it to give the visual result that you want from it. Okay, so the term that I would always start off with when I was teaching classes, and just for anyone that wants to start on this journey that I've described earlier, is the term homeostasis. Homeostasis is a very important part of understanding how exercise plans work and also how nutrition plans work. And it kind of explains the back end without going into too much detail. It kind of explains the back end as to why it's important to consistently stick to what you're doing for long enough time so that your body will start to react and give you the result that you're looking for, whether it's a visual goal, whether it's an athletic goal. Homeostasis plays a role. What is homeostasis? Homeostasis is basically the term given to your body trying to balance itself to be at a healthy medium, a healthy balance in whatever environment that you're giving it. So as a short-term example, if you go outside without a jacket on and it's cold, your body will start to do the automated response of shivering. Okay. The reason why it's shivering is it's literally it's burning energy and creating movement in order for you to heat up your core temperature, because your core temperature has now dropped too low. Okay. I just use that as an example. I want to try to keep this short and sweet. So the homeostatic principle is important for you to understand when you are doing an exercise plan, because you need to facilitate and work in a very specific zone for a long enough time in order for your body to be like, oh, okay, this is the stimulus that I keep giving. If you stick to the right exercise plan, this is what I need to adapt myself to in order for me to deal best with the circumstance that keeps getting put on me. That's when the consistency of the exercise plan comes in. So if you don't work in the right zone for the right amount of time and allow your body to try and balance itself under those conditions, you're never going to get a result. And this is what happens to so many people. What happens is people don't understand the different zones that you should be working your body in depending on what you want. And people go to either different fitness classes, so maybe you're going to group exercise classes, you're going to different classes every time, or you kind of self-prescribing what classes you're going to based on what you like. That's great, you may enjoy it, or you might get, let's say, exercise plans off the internet. If you keep getting different programs for different reasons, your body is never in the same zone. It keeps constantly getting different variants, and you're stimulating different responses, and you're never actually going to achieve your goal if this is what happens. So very important is to stick to a plan that is based on what your goals are for a long enough period of time that your body tries to balance itself under those conditions. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I will expand more on this in our next video. I'll try keep like a theme running, and then I also want to try answer questions at the same time. But just as for Tip Tuesday, what I want to let you know is, in order for homeostasis, the principle, to work for you and not against you, you need to stay consistently doing the right activities and putting the right nutrients and such into your body for the right amount of time for your body to actually start to react in the way that you want it to. And the only way you're going to get the right stimulus is if you are following an exercise plan that has been prescribed to you by someone that understands what the zones are and how to keep you in those zones. And then you need to obviously follow through with that for a certain period of time. I hope that is very interesting information for you. If you have found that interesting, please give some comments, share this video. I'm going to continue talking about this next week. And I'm also going to get to questions. I was going to get to questions this week, but I think this video is already long enough. I don't want to make these too long. So we're going to be posting Ask Me Anything next week. And on Monday evening, that post is going to come up. All the questions that you ask from Monday evening all the way through Tuesday, because that's the story runs for 24 hours. We're going to be collecting all of those questions, and then I will answer those questions and then stick to the theme of trying to teach you something that's useful for you guys at the end of the day too, because I want you to get lots of value. I want to give you free value. So thank you for tuning in. If you did, this video is going to be posted on our wall, and I hope to see you next week for Tip Tuesday at 6 p.m. Have a good evening, guys.